So say you sit down one day and you decide, I want to write a book. But you're also like, how do I write a book? So you go to the internet, you look it up, and you are met with hundreds of videos with different explanations of character arcs, characters, diversity, story structure, setting, and so on and so on and so on. And you look at it and it's like, yeah, no, not happening. It's not for me. And you decide, yeah, this idea of mine is going to stay in the back of my head, and that's just it. And that's completely normal. Many potential writers look at the writing process and believe that it's too intimidating. So let's start off in how to write a book. The first thing you're gonna want is an idea. And you're probably like, where do I get an idea? Anywhere. Literally anywhere. Because an idea or a spark of inspiration can come from anywhere. Or if you need a little bit of help, the internet, yes, again, the internet has a lot of great resources to give you ideas, prompts, just impromptu things that could spark inspiration at any time. And I say, as someone who has done it before, have somewhere to write that idea down, because you can and you will forget it if you just leave it in your head the whole time. You don't have to buy the most expensive writing app out there automatically. You can do a book and pen, and if that's not your thing, then there are several wonderful writing apps out there, and I will be naming a few of them. 3 well-known and very well-done writing apps are Ellipsis, Reedsy, and Scrivener. These 3 range in terms of price and learning curve, but they are all very well-used apps amongst the writing community. For Ellipsis, it's, I would say, the most beginner-friendly and completely free. It's great for writing down your outline, characters, and just even parts of that draft one and scenes that you're thinking of using. For Reedsy, it has a few subscriptions to it, but overall, it does not stop you from writing your drafts, and it automatically formats what you're writing so that you don't have to figure that out later on. But you are very far from formatting at this point, and it's something that you don't have to worry about automatically. For Scrivener, however, it is a little bit on the pricier side, but it is a one-time payment. From what I know, it is quite a learning curve, but is a great place of keeping all of your things in one spot. So now you have your idea, so let's write an outline. But what's an outline? An outline is basically your story told to you, but in the simplest form possible. This is supposed to be the structure of how your story moves. A great resource if you're not sure of how to structure your story would be a book by Jessica Brody, Save the Cat. It'll give a lot of sources and tips on how to structure a book. With outlines, you don't have to write them in a great amount of detail. They're there more so that you know what's happening and when it's happening, but also that it's in simple enough form that it gives you the flexibility that you can go back in and change things, take certain things out, put certain things in, without too much to take out or delete at the end of the day if you change your mind on certain things. Your first draft is meant to tell you the story to yourself. It's not for others, it's not a polished version of your end work, and everyone has one. No one writes a book and gets it perfectly the first time. There aren't many rules to writing your first draft. You could start from the end, you can start from the beginning, and you can start from even that specific scene that you had in your head for 2 weeks now that's sparked the idea in the first place. A great tip to have is not going back and editing what you already written. Your draft one isn't supposed to be polished, so the goal is to more finish the story that you're telling yourself than it is to go back and edit everything and make it your final product. So a good tip to have is just to not touch what you write. You wrote it, you have it down, time to move on. Because for many writers, they fall into a cycle of they rewrite the same chapter over and over and over and over again, because they get stuck in a cycle of rewriting what they wrote before because it's not good enough. And you're like, well, isn't that the point? To revise it and make it perfect and move on with your life? And the answer is yes, but with your first draft, It's best to not put a whole lot of pressure on yourself as a person to make it perfect. Again, you're telling yourself the story. It's okay. And writing something is better than nothing. As Jodi Picoult says, you can always edit a bad page. You can't edit a blank page. There are many great authors out there that would rather throw their computer out the window than let people read their first drafts. And mind you, these books are very beloved to the people of the reader community. Let's talk about how to avoid getting overwhelmed. Because again, writing is a lot, or at least it can be a lot for certain people. And being a little overwhelmed sometimes is okay. It's very easy to fall into an unconscious kind of burnout when we're scrolling social media and we're getting advice after advice after advice after advice when we're already not very far into the process. It's not that these videos are bad. They can be a very great amount of help. But when you're not far into that process, getting large amounts of advice of how to write your book can feel overwhelming and overall discourage you from finishing. The tip that I have for this is to save those videos for later. You can always come back to them and they will save your future self the time when you're editing that draft one. When it's finished. You don't need to do all that now, nor do you need the internet's approval of what makes a good book. Know that if you want to write a book, but you don't want to publish it, that is completely okay. Many people just write for themselves, or they publish on certain online platforms to get their writing out there and show their penmanship. You don't have to publish a book if you don't want to. Many people just use it for a hobby. And I will now leave you with one more quote by Stephen King. It says, "The scariest moment is always just before you start." And that is true. You're going to look at the blank page of your computer or your book for a while. And that's okay, because starting is better than not starting at all.